We're here to give you an update on a critical incident that occurred earlier this morning. The Austin Police Department received a call at 6:38 a.m. this morning of a disturbance, a male versus female, in the 5000 block of Lynwood. That call again came in at 6:38, and the caller indicated that the male subject involved in this disturbance was possibly on drugs. The caller reported at 6:41 that the female victim was actually being stabbed at that time, and then a minute later at 6:42 stated that she had been stabbed and was bleeding heavily. A minute later, the caller reported that she was now unconscious, the victim, and was uncertain whether or not she was breathing. The APD officers were en route during this call and were getting these updates as they were getting to the scene. And the first officer arrived at 6:49, and this officer, when he arrived, entered into the complex. It's an apartment complex with a 2-story multi-units, entered into the courtyard and encountered the suspect. The officer involved in this incident was wearing a body-worn camera, and the body-worn camera did capture the entire incident. And what we can report so far during the initial stages of the investigation is that when the officer entered the courtyard, he encountered the suspect. The victim of the initial assault at this point is seen down on the ground, and the suspect is walking around and appears to be armed with the knife. The officer gives repeated commands to this individual to drop it, drop it. The individual refuses to comply, and he takes additional aggressive acts towards the female victim in this incident, and our officer fires his weapon. The suspect is struck by our officer's weapon, and he also then goes down. The officers move in at this point to take the suspect into custody, and he ends up struggling with our officers. So there is a rather lengthy struggle to get the suspect into custody, and he ultimately is handcuffed. And at this point, the officers begin tending to both his injuries and also those of the female victim of the initial assault that brought us here this morning. The suspect in this incident was transported to the local area hospital, immediately was brought into surgery. At this time, he is out of surgery and he is in critical condition. We believe him to be a 50-year-old black male, and the victim of the initial assault that he was involved with, unfortunately, was pronounced deceased here on the scene. I do not have her identity, her age, or any information on her at this point. Our officer involved in this incident is a 23-and-a-half-year veteran of the Austin Police Department, and he will be placed on administrative leave, as is our standard practice when we have officer-involved shootings. It is with obviously great sadness that we lost someone today, but I can say from what I understand, our officers did everything they could when they got here to put an end to the threat that this suspect posed to this victim, but unfortunately the wounds were significant. Our officers did apply first aid to the female victim. There are multiple tourniquets that were applied in an attempt to save her life, but again, unfortunately, she was pronounced here at the scene.